Hey, what's up, YouTube? Today, in this section of my 2018 NFL Draft Preview, I'm going to be looking at the linebacking position for the upcoming NFL Draft. What I mean by this, a lot of your off-ball linebackers in the 4-3 or 3-4 middle linebackers, those are the type of guys that I'm going to be looking for in terms of this section of my preview. So without further ado, just getting into my top five off-ball linebackers in the 2018 NFL Draft. At number 5, I have Darius Leonard out of South Carolina State, kind of a smaller school, but don't mistake yourself here. This kid's a very productive kid who's worthy of a high pick in the NFL Draft. When I look at Darius Leonard, he's got great range and speed for the position. It's kind of that modern-day linebacker who's more of a faster guy than a bigger guy. He's got great range, like I said. He goes sideline to sideline in a heartbeat. Very fast going sideline to sideline, pursuing running backs. He can get guys from behind. When ball carriers get into space, he's got great closing speed on ball carries. He chops pretty well, and he tackles pretty well in space as well. And then when he does make the right read and diagnosis of play correctly, he can easily get to the right spot and get there very fast, very quick. Just great overall speed at the linebacking position. And what this also does, it gives him great coverage ability in space. He can cover in zone pretty well. And he has the athletic ability to match up with tight ends and running backs at the National Football League level in terms of man coverage. So that will not be a problem for Darius Leonard when it comes to the NFL level. He has the physical athletic ability to cover and be a factor in the passing game. He's a very quick twitch athlete overall. It allows him to change directions in space. That way, when he does get fooled on a misdirection, he can easily change direction and get back into the play pretty quickly. But besides that, he processes quickly when making his read. So even when he's wrong, he's able to diagnose that and get to his spot again. He's a very patient tackler. He gets really good form, wraps up pretty well for the most part. And like I said, he's just perfect for the modern-day game in terms of being more of a pass coverage guy at the linebacker spot. Now, when it comes to weaknesses, like I said, he's got very good speed, but he is painfully undersized for a linebacker, even in today's age. He's 6'2", 213 as of now, which is more of the size of a safety than a linebacker. He's one of those guys where he's a tweener between whether you want to put him at strong safety and you can put him in the box a bit as a safety or make him a full-time linebacker. A creative defensive coordinator is going to have to figure that out with him. And I fear that he may have maxed out his frame a little bit because he put on 50 pounds over the course of college. So he's already put on a lot of weight over the past few years. And I question whether he can really handle enough weight without, diminishing some of the speed that he has. So when he puts on weight, will that diminish the one thing that makes him a top flight prospect in this draft? We'll see about that. In terms of what this does, he has struggles getting off blocks that when linemen get to him at the second level. He can get blown up pretty easily by guards and centers who are getting up to the second level. In order for him to have an impact on the game on any given play, he needs to stay clean. He needs his defensive lineman to keep the lineman attached to them and not, get to the second level in order for him to have an impact. Because, again, once the lineman gets his hands on him, it's pretty much over. He doesn't have the ability to disengage. He's not the longest guy in the world. Doesn't really have the hand usage quite down yet to shed blocks. And I just figure that's going to be a huge, major problem for him at the NFL level, where he's just not going to be a factor in the downhill running game. So those are my main concerns for Darius Leonard. My pro comparison for him is Mark Barron, who you remember was safety coming out of college, but he was transitioned to linebacker as his career went on. He's kind of similar in that because he's more of a tweener at this point in his development. The draft range for him is in the second to third round. He's not quite a first-round prospect because of the size issue, but I think he can provide very good value in the second or third round. Maybe put him on the bench for the first year to have him kind of put on some weight, kind of redshirt him in a sense. But bottom line for me, Darius Leonard has been a fast riser in the pre-draft prospect due to his speed at the linebacker position that fits the modern game to a T. He's a tweener between a linebacker and a safety and is very scheme specific as a 4-3 weakest side linebacker or as a 3-4 will inside linebacker. Basically any spot where he doesn't have to go full on against a lineman pretty often. He will need to get stronger and put on more weight on his frame in order to survive the rigors of the NFL. But I believe that Leonard's speed to cover and pursue is a coveted trait for many NFL defenses that will get him picked pretty high. Moving on to number 4 on my list, I have Rashaan Evans, inside linebacker out of Alabama. When I look at Rashaan Evans' strengths, he fits the mold of what you want in your modern day NFL linebackers. He's got very good speed. He can work sideline to sideline as well as anybody in this draft. He can cover in man coverage and in space and in zone coverage. And he's got, as opposed to Darius Leonard, who's very undersized, I think he has more adequate size that you want from a linebacker in today's age. He's 6'3", 234 pounds, has pretty good muscle on his frame, well proportioned overall, and he tackles in space very well. Very, very good tackler in space. And even though he might be seen as maybe a smaller linebacker, he operates around the trash very well. And what I mean by that is when he's in the mix of the line of scrimmage, when there's the scrum and the running play, he can locate the ball carrier still in a crowd when there's lots of bodies in the area, and he can still make the play and recognize where the running back is trying to go in the hole. And what you gotta like about this guy is he plays a very physical brand of football. It's just he will absolutely destroy ball carriers when you give him some speed to kind of run and get you. He's a great tone setter in the running game. It's kind of what you want at that inside linebacker spot. And he just plays with a reckless abandon as a hitter. And I think that's going to create a lot of turnovers at the next level because ball carriers are going to have to worry about taking the hit as opposed to maybe, absorbing the hit as opposed to making sure that they're clearing onto the ball when he comes around. And that's going to create a lot of opportunities for forced fumbles at the next level. And in terms of the passing game, he also brings a lot of value in that he can bring some pressure as a pass rusher. He's got very good impact and speed through the A and B gaps as a blitzer. And he also played off the edge and sub packages a little bit at Alabama. So that's something you can do, blitzing him off the edge as an extra man in some of your zone blitz schemes. Now, in terms of his weaknesses, his instincts when I watched him on film were very below average, in my opinion. Despite his great speed, it always seems like he was kind of a step behind on making the plays. It seemed like he didn't diagnose it in time. And before he could get over there to make the play was already made by another superior talent on that Alabama defense. He diagnosed the plays very well. It just that it takes a while for him to diagnose it. So he's usually very right. He will not get fooled by misdirection, but he needs to do it quicker at the next level if he's going to succeed. He can also take some really bad pursuit angles at times. It leads to running backs taking advantage of that, using cutbacks lanes, and generally just missing tackles that he really shouldn't at the next level. That might be something he has to work on as he transitions to an NFL scheme. And like I said, he's kind of a smaller running linebacker, even though he's got more adequate size that you want, but he struggles playing downhill in the running game. He relies more on his quickness to get off blockers and just being quicker than the lineman rather than actually taking the lineman on and shedding blocks. And he does not engage contact. He does not like to take on the blockers at all. He'll wait for the lineman to get near him, and then he'll just try and outquick the lineman to get by him. And that'll create some extra running lanes for running backs who are getting to the second level after they get past the defensive line. And like I said, I love his physical nature and his over aggressiveness as a hitter, but that kind of style will lend itself to injuries at the next level. I fear with his frame that he might be a guy that's constantly injured because he's going for the big hit all the times, as opposed to just being technically sound and just wrapping up, making the tackle. That's a big concern for me as he transitions to the next level. And one last thing, playing at Alabama, you know that he benefited from staying relatively clean due to the fact that he's just playing with a lot of dominant defensive linemen. I mentioned in my defensive line preview, De'Aaron Payne was just an absolute beast, who demanded double teams routinely. Those are the type of guys, there were multiple guys like that on Alabama's defensive line, and he was able to relatively stay off of blocks at Alabama and just fly around and make plays. How he's going to deal with it at the next level, having to deal with blockers more, having to shed blockers more, that's definitely a big question for me. My pro comparison for him is Deion Jones on the Atlanta Falcons, kind of that modern-day, smaller, compact, fast sideline-to-sideline coverage linebacker that you're looking for. He's a guy that I think is going to get drafted late first round, early second round in the upcoming NFL draft. So bottom line, Rashaan Evans, he fits the prototypical mode for what you want in a modern-day inside linebacker. He has the speed to pursue sideline to sideline as well as cover in space. Evans' aggressiveness and physical play style is both a positive and the negative in that it creates a great energy for his teammates when he makes a big hit, but it may lead to injuries down the road for him. I think Evans needs to work on diagnosing his plays faster, reading his keys faster at the next level in order for him to reach his potential, which is that of a Pro Bowl type of linebacker, I think, at the NFL. At number 3, I have Leighton Vander Esch out of Boise State. Love that name. When I look at Vander Esch's strengths, he's got great size and athleticism for the position. 6'4", 256 pounds, ran a 4.65 40, 4.15 20-yard shuttle. Just great speed and quickness. And he's also got very good explosiveness athletically because when you look at his vertical jump 39.5 inches at the NFL Combine, just great size, great athleticism, just a great combination of both of those two things, what you're kind of looking for your linebackers. He moves very well in space, especially for a guy of his size, and he can change directions at ease pretty much. Even when he misdiagnoses a play, he can change directions and get back into the play pretty easily. And he's also got the quickness to be able to tackle guys in space because of this. He's got the speed and range to go sideline to sideline like a lot of these top linebackers. And he's a very sure tackler, which is what I really like. He plays with very good technique, always wraps up for the most part, keeps his pad level low, always sees what he's tackling at for the most part when he goes to tackle. So that's just some of the things you got to like about this kid. He's very good in coverage as well. He has elite potential to be a very good coverage linebacker, even with his size. He can match up in space. He's got very active hands. He gets his hands on a lot of balls and on lots of passes, a lot of tip passes. I think he's going to lead to a lot more interceptions at the next level as he gets coached up a little bit better. And he's also got great instincts as a blitzer, knows when to blitz, knows how to time it, and knows how to adjust his speed and explosiveness to get into the hole and just penetrate to get to the quarterback. Now, in terms of weaknesses, Vander Esch is still a little bit new to the position. He only had 1 year as a starter at Boise State. So I think sometimes that leads to him taking some poor angles and misreading things a lot. Just needs to get better at diagnosing plays at the next level, just in general. And what I really don't like about him is, in terms of a weakness, he struggles taking on blocks, which is very surprising for a guy of his size. Taking on blocks should not be as big of a deal as it is for him, but because his frame is very good for a linebacker, but for some reason he's just afraid of contact. I think he would rather use his quickness and avoid contact rather than just taking on the lineman and engaging with his arms and then shedding. Doesn't use his hands very well when he gets engaged, and he doesn't shed. So he's going to have to work on that at the next level because he does have the frame to hold up and take on blockers at the next level. So that's just something he really needs to get coached and worked up on, I think. But I think that'll come with time, though. He's definitely got the ability to do that. My pro comparison for him is Carlos Dansby, who played for the Arizona Cardinals for such a long time when they were going to the playoffs quite a bit in the late 2000s. His draft range is a late first-round pick. So bottom line for me, I think Vander Esch is still very new at the position and still gaining a feel of how to play at the next level. However, his upside is very high, where he can be a Pro Bowl level player in the NFL. Vander Esch has incredible movement and coverage skills for a player of his size. He just needs to be a little bit more physical at the point of attack when engaging linemen. But I think once he gets coached up, he'll be a long-time starter with very high upside in many defensive fronts. Number 2, moving on. I have Roquan Smith, inside linebacker out of Georgia. When I look at Roquan Smith's strengths, he's got incredible ability to play sideline to sideline. He played with a 4.5 40. It's just extremely fast for the position, and he has very, very explosive closing speed when he's gaining in on a running back. Just very fast, plays very fast, and he's got great instincts, which allows him to maximize that 4.5 40 speed. He diagnoses the plays fast in the backfield, and he reacts accordingly. He reads, reacts, and he goes to where he needs to go. Very instinctual in that way. He's rarely fooled by screens and misdirection concepts. Just a very smart football player overall. And I think he has a very good understanding of what offenses are trying to do on a play-to-play basis. That's something that's definitely going to translate to the next level in terms of being a middle linebacker in the NFL. He's a very sure tackler as well. Wraps up very well, has very good pop when he hits. Even though he's kind of a smaller guy, he knows how to use whatever size he does have to his advantage and get as much force as he does when he tackles. And a lot of that has to do with his speed as well, coming in full force. He's got elite change of direction ability as well, which allows him to tackle running backs in space and chop his feet, and not let running backs juke him in space necessarily. And just his elite athleticism in general just allowed him to be a factor in the passing game as a coverage man, covering in space, covering in man coverage. He can, run 40, 50 yards on the field with a tight end or a really fast running back and cover them pretty easily for the most part. And he's also got a lot of speed blitzing off the edge and through the middle A and B gaps as well. He was very effective as a blitzer at Georgia. Now, in terms of weaknesses, like I said, he's undersized. And the bigger issue, I think, is he lacks length for the position. So not only is he undersized, he's kind of shorter in stature and has a little bit shorter arms. So what you'll see is when linemen get out to him at the second level, if he can't outquick them and outrun them to the spot, blockers will just engulf him sometimes and just completely take him out of the play. He's a guy that's going to have to rely on his quickness at the next level in order to avoid blockers in the running game. And I think he's going to have to work on using his hands to shed blockers just a little bit more so he just doesn't get completely dominated and can get off blocks at the next level, because he won't rely on just using his speed and space to get the guys at the NFL. My pro comparison for him is a little bit like a Ryan Shazier, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. His draft range for me is a top 10 to middle of the first round pick. I don't really see anywhere where he goes past 14, 15 in that range over there, and that's at the very low end of his range. But bottom line for me, Roquan Smith, he's an elite talent at the linebacker position, no doubt about it. His lack of size will make him a bit scheme specific for me. I think he's going to be a guy that has to play weak side 4-3 outside linebacker, and there's a weak side 3-4 inside linebacker, so he doesn't have to take on as many blocks in the NFL. However, Smith's elite athleticism and instincts make him a dynamic playmaker all over the field. Smith should contribute right away, and I think he'll eventually be a Pro Bowl level talent for a very long time in the NFL. And then my number one off-ball linebacker in this 2018 NFL draft class, it's got to be Tremaine Edmonds out of Virginia Tech. Just, a physical freak, an elite physical talent, 6'5", 253 pounds. He ran a 4.5 40 at the NFL Combine. He's got elite ability to change direction despite his long and gangly frame. And just like I said, he's incredibly long. Every single physical aspect of a linebacker that you want, he has it to an elite extent. He's got a well-proportioned frame so far for guys as young as he is. I'll get to that in a bit. But he could add a little bit more strength at the next level, but I think that'll just come naturally with time. He's got great lateral quickness to range, hole to hole. When teams are running it up the middle, he can kind of diagnose in the middle of the field there, and has a really good feel for that. He can play sideline to sideline with ease, like I said, using his length, using his elite speed at the position. That'll be no problem at the NFL level. And what I really like about him when in regards to his size and his length is it's a big advantage as a tackler, because he combines that with really good technique where he can just wrap up very easily at the next level. And this makes him very elite as a tackler in space, where guys will not get by him very, very easily. I rarely saw a time on tape when he missed a tackle in the open field. It was basically once he got you in his sights, you were going down as a running back. And you just got to like that about him. He's just an elite playmaker at the linebacking position. Because of his size, he can take on blocks very well, and he's not afraid of contact, which I really like. He has long arms, and he uses his hands pretty well for the most part, so he has the ability to shed and get off guys and stay in the hole. And he has elite potential in coverage. Like I said, those long arms and that great speed sideline to sideline, he uses that to his advantage where he can get his hands on a lot of balls in the air. And I've even seen times where they lined him up against slot wide receivers, and he was able to take them completely out of the play. He's just an absolute physical freak in what you can do using him in coverage at the linebacking position. He's also an elite blitzer with really good timing, really good explosion entering the gap, which will create a lot of plays at the next level in the passing game. And I think he does have the physical traits to play on the edge and be a full-time edge player. And if teams wanted him to kind of use that and put him at the edge, I could definitely see them doing that in terms of being a 3-4 outside linebacker. That wouldn't be his best position, in my opinion. But because of his age, you can certainly do that. I mean, this kid's only 19 years old. It's just insane. He played 3 years of college, and he's 19 years old entering the draft. So, I mean, he's just got so much potential because of that factor. Now, in terms of weaknesses, because he's such a young guy still, his instincts are below average. That is definitely the case. Often it takes him very long to diagnose plays, and he was easily fooled by misdirection plays. at the college level. So that's something that needs to be cleaned up for him. That might take some time for him to kind of adjust to that at the NFL level. And one thing that really alarmed me was he took there were just a lot of mental busts in man coverage where he would just completely forget to cover his guy and just be focused on the quarterback and spying the quarterback. And what do you know, the running back's running a wheel route and he's just wide open in space for a touchdown. That happened quite a bit. So he just needs to focus in on the mental aspect of the game because the physical stuff is already there. Also, from a technique standpoint, he has a tendency to take kind of a false step forward when off the initial snap. And what this does, it puts him out of position to make the play, and it also puts him off balance to where if a lineman can get him from the side, he can be out of the play at that point. So he needs to do a better job of just reading right away what he sees in the backfield and then just going. Don't waste your time with that false step forward. That's going to be a bit of a struggle, I think, to kind of adjust out of that at the next level for a couple of years, I think. My pro comparison for him, he has very similar physical traits to a Brian Urlacher coming out of college, just an absolute physical freak. He's a guy that's been slowly rising in the draft process as kind of these mock drafts come out. And I think he's going in the top 10 for sure. I think teams are going to fall in love with his physical upside. So bottom line for me, Tremaine Edmonds, just an elite prospect with their versatility to play practically every single position at the linebacker spot in any given scheme that you want. His freakish size and athleticism make him an impact player on all three downs right away by that trait alone. He should contribute right away and has all-pro potential definitely in this league. The scary thing is that, about Edmonds is that he's only 19 years old, so he still has no idea what he's doing from a mental aspect of the game, and yet he still has the ability to routinely take over games from an inside linebacking position. So he's just got scary potential. So moving on, those are my top 5 for the linebacking position. Now I'm going to quickly go through some sleepers and some overrated guys. For me, one sleeper here has got to be Shaq Griffin, the greatest story in this draft, in my opinion, out of Central Michigan. Put on an absolute show at the NFL Combine. I mean, this guy ran a 4.38 40 as a linebacker. That's insane. He's got the athleticism to cover. He plays a very physical brand of football. And he just simply produced and made a lot of big plays in college. And I think he'll definitely be a contributor on special teams by far early on. I think he's going to slip a bit because, let's be honest here, he's got that one hand. And I think a lot of teams are going to look at that and just say, nope, we can't draft him very high, even though he's got a lot of physical upside. And I think one thing going against him is he's a bit of a tweener physically. He's kind of in that same position where you don't know whether he's a big safety, or a linebacker. So it kind of puts teams in a tough spot there. I think he's a 3rd to 4th round pick. I think he could be a steal. Another sleeper for me, Josie Jewell out of Iowa. As opposed to Shaq Griffin, he's not the greatest athlete when it comes to the linebacker position, but I think he's very adequate overall. He's definitely not a terrible athlete for the position. He's got very good intangibles, and he's a very good, solid team player. He'll be an absolute wrecking ball on special teams. He's a very productive player in college. He's a sure tackler. He can cover well in space, even though he's not the greatest athlete in the world. I think he provides value on special teams right away, and he has potential going forward to maybe be a solid starter in the league. Again, I see him going 3rd, 4th round. Another guy, just going to my overrated prospects, I think Malik Jefferson out of Texas is very overrated. He's got good athleticism. He's got good size, everything you want from a physical perspective, but he just has no instincts to play the position. And for how long he played the position at college, I just question whether he'll be able to turn it on and flip the switch when he gets to the NFL. I think he's going to be overrated due to his physical profile, maybe as a 2nd round pick. I think he's more of a day 3 pick, though, to be honest. I just don't see it with him. And the production kind of matched that in college as well. So anyway, those are kind of my general thoughts and my observations when I looked at the inside linebackers and off-ball linebackers for this upcoming 2018 NFL Draft. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think in the comment section below. Who's your number 1 guy? Do you think it's Roquan Smith? Do you think it's Tremaine Edmonds? Who's a big sleeper for you? Who do you think is overrated in this class? Let me know in the comment section below. And, of course, thanks, guys, for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll have more stuff coming out for you lately. I have one more of these to go in terms of my 2018 NFL Draft previews, and then I'll have one last mock draft before the draft comes this upcoming week. So thanks, guys, for watching.